So thank you all very much for joining us for day 3 of our volunteer festival. And we're delighted this morning to be welcomed by Helen Tandy, who is Director of EcoCommunities UK. And Helen is going to be running this session about volunteering for a sustainable future. So I'll pass straight over to you, Helen. Thank you very much.
Hi, good morning, everybody. So I'm going to put my PowerPoint on actually, so you can have a look at what's going on, she says. So yeah, I can see that. So yeah, so volunteering, as you all do as well, because obviously I'm assuming that's part of how you've been introduced to me through Sally. Just click on to the next slide. Yeah, so there's a picture of me. I don't dress up in a bee suit quite as often, and I'll explain why in a second, but I used to spend lots of my weekends looking like that. I'm on the one on the left, obviously, and then Alison, who's very tall bee on the right of me. A little bit about me. So I have worked in financial services now for over 30 years. And that's how I met Sally. We were just trying to work out before everybody joined us how long ago that was. All we could decide was it was a very long time ago. So I've worked in financial services for a long time, and I became more and more concerned about the environment when I had my son, and I became an ethical financial advisor. And that's when I met Sally at an event somewhere, I think possibly in London, but I've seen her a few times since, and became aware of what shared interest does. And I think having my son made me think more about the future. My sister was very, very into environmental issues and recycling, and went vegetarian. And I really just plodded along doing my own thing for most of my teenage into my early 20s. But then when I had my son, I became an environmental campaigner. So I originally became a campaigner with Friends of the Earth, and used to be coordinator for the Cheshire Friends of the Earth group. And since then, I've moved on to slightly different things. So this is myself and Christian. So Christian, actually, I'm just thinking this is what I do all the time. I create myself some little notes, and then I never follow any of my notes. Christian actually and I became friends when he decided he was going to do a project called Straw Free Chester a long time ago, probably about 2017. And I saw him on social media, on Twitter actually, flukily that day, and said, do you want to come work with me and Friends of the Earth? This is a great project. I'd love to do it. And we became friends. He came into part of our Friends of the Earth group. And we did Straw Free Chester in the days that plastic straws, before they were banned. And then we decided we wanted to do more. And really EcoCommunities was born from that. So we created EcoCommunities really to help build a greener and more sustainable future. We wanted to do stuff that was a little bit more on the positive side. So rather than campaigning against things, we wanted to try and spread a more positive message about what people could do. And I think, having already campaigned about climate change for such a long time, I just felt that we just weren't engaging with a big enough community. You know, you've got your people who get it, they understand it, they know what they can do. But a lot of people are becoming more aware of the climate issues. Even today, I feel like I can't believe I've been campaigning so long. So even today, I'm laughing because my other heart's coming down and going to pop there. Even today, you know, we're still struggling to engage with enough people. So we created EcoCommunities in 2019. So we created that on back of lots of conversations with our local council, who were really keen to support us to try and get funding under our plastic free project. And our plastic free project was called Plastic Free Pioneers. And we didn't really want the organisation to be very linked to plastics. So we came up with EcoCommunities, although it's EcoCommunity UK. Officially, we created it as a community interest company. Christian and I, founding directors, both work full time. Christian's a wetland scientist out at Bangor University, I obviously am a partner, a financial advisor at Castlefield as well, and therefore we weren't looking to create anything that was too complicated like a charity. So we came up with a community interest company structure, which was quite a straightforward thing to set up. Then lockdown hit, and we didn't really get to do a huge amount, although I'll tell you some of the things that we did achieve in a second. But what that meant was that all of a sudden we weren't able to do lots of the projects we were doing, and we went online. Today we've got a database of over 2,000 people, which isn't huge, but for us, from nothing in quite a short space of time, and we reached about 4,000 people over lockdown. So over lockdown, I actually have an illness. I've got a genetic illness, and that's another thing that drives me, I think. I feel like I'm not going to be held back by it, and therefore I'm just driven to do new projects all the time. And so in lockdown, I was shielding, actually. So I wasn't living at home with my husband and son. I actually lived in a flat that our in-laws owned in Chester, which is where we live. And I thought, right, what am I going to do with all my spare time now? I did a bit of baking like everybody did, but I decided I would start doing online events. And this is where our EcoCommunities and Tellers TV came from. So we created something on a platform called Crowdcast, and lockdown was brilliant because everybody wanted to watch stuff and I could get speakers from all over the UK to come on as well. So we had some fantastic speakers. All of those talks are still there and still watchable. And, you know, I was in the winter, Tellers TV works really well. We were doing a weekly Tuesday 7 o'clock session. Doesn't work quite so well in the summer when everybody wants to be out and about, and I don't blame them for wanting to get out and about in these lovely evenings. So Tellers TV is live and catch up, and we've got loads of stuff on in there. Bit of a sneeze. Sorry, I suffer from allergies really badly. We've also create magazines. So we've got there, you can just sort of see some of the things that we've been doing to try and again spread the message a little bit wider. And as we're coming out of lockdown now, we've been able to start on some of these projects. So we're involved with the Climate Coalition. I've been doing projects with the Climate Coalition forever. And we do Great Big Green Week. So last year I organised, coordinated everything from Cheshire West that they got involved in. Plastic Free Cheshire, we're supporting lots of organisations do plastic free projects, and I've been all around the UK actually pre-COVID talking about plastic free. I work with Refill. A newer project that we've done this year is linking with an organisation called Geeky. It's a carbon footprint calculator, which I'll touch on slightly later. So at the moment, our main projects, although I'm a bit of a nightmare for coming up with new ideas and things to do, and when we all work full time, it's quite difficult. Plastic Free Cheshire, we're working on now. Sustainable Cheshire and Carbon Footprint Friends are probably our main projects at the moment. So Plastic Free Cheshire, we actually achieved Plastic Free Chester pre-COVID in 2018 in 6 months. And I think Surface Against Sewage that we do that with, we're quite surprised. And a lot of that was on the back of the Straw Free campaign that we did, because we'd already got lots of links with local businesses and lots of contacts. So it was quite good. And I'm a little bit, you know, the old days of financial services where you used to be very target driven, you know, pre-working for Castlefield, of course, when I used to work for Nationwide, does mean that I'm a little bit of a, you know, taskmaster to get everybody doing stuff. I'm now being thinking about the dog. To do plastic free, we need to get businesses signed up, schools signed up as well, and local community groups, and do litter picks. And this is something new. So we managed to get funding from the council to create litter pick hubs within the region, and we're just starting to get these out now. Actually, it's meant COVID and everything's meant there's been a bit of a delay in getting the things together. So what we're doing within Cheshire is creating little hubs around Cheshire where people can go and collect equipment to do litter picks. And I think lockdown was brilliant, and we gave away all of our litter pick equipment over lockdown. people that would contact us, and I just used to drop it off on people's doorsteps. But not everybody can afford to buy their own litter pickers. Obviously, our stuff ran out. And so the idea of these hubs is that anybody can go and get hold of equipment from these hubs and go do themselves a little litter pick. Sustainable Cheshire. The main thing about Sustainable Cheshire really is about spreading a bigger message. So we've building a website which we're constantly updating, called Sustainable Cheshire. And one thing we've just done is we've just done a print version of our Tellers magazine. So the council who we got some funding from did sort of question us on this. I think the huge difficulty these days is, and I am guilty of it as well, is that you get lots of things into your inbox. I run about 4 different email accounts, plus works, and you put all these things in your inbox, and sometimes it is so easy just to go delete, delete, delete. And so we felt that we needed to create something that would be something physical, and it's been great that the libraries in the region have got those out. So we've got quite a good way of reaching out a wider population, and I've had absolutely loads and loads of emails from people just saying, oh, I've come across this magazine and found out about you, and it's really great. And so it's actually opened up lots of doors for us, but hopefully people have learned a lot from it as well. Carbon footprint friends. So Sally just sort of said to think about some hints and tips. I am sure you've done a lot of this already, but Carbon Footprint Friends was a project we created out of my background in carbon literacy. So I'm a carbon literacy trainer at work. We became carbon literate in 2018. So this is a project that businesses will do and train their staff. I'm just about to do another lot of training, I think next week, with some of our lots of new starters over lockdown. And I've combined the carbon literacy work I've done with an organisation called Geeky. I came across Jo Hand over lockdown on a talk, and she's come and done some talks for me about something she set up with her husband, which calculates carbon footprint. And I've used other ones before, but I really love the way that Geeky can take people from having done nothing and straight through to doing the really difficult things. So this is something I did for work, which is why there's lots of different colours. I've got a dog attacking me. A day's worth of emails is equivalent to 1,652 grams of carbon. So one thing we've been doing at work is we've been moving away from sending internal emails to using platforms like Teams to chat to each other. So the total yearly carbon footprint of our emails is the same as a person living in India, which is quite scary. So we've just become so reliant on online technology that we don't often think about that email reply that just says thanks to somebody within work. So that's the different carbon footprints of email. So one big tip is if you do get spam, if you do get emails that you just don't read anymore, rather than just delete them, I always think I'll read it next month. Unsubscribe from anything you don't want to come into your inbox. A general email is 4 grams of carbon, and then an email with attachment. So some of our teams still do this. If you're going to send an email with a PDF attached to it, and we used to do it internally, and we just didn't need to, that's 50 grams of carbon. So that's a lot of carbon. And then the other thing as well is that we've done a lot of work on within Castlefield is trying to move from paper to secure contact with clients. And I've wrote a blog about that, about how lockdown and our view of lockdown has changed things. I was trying to do paperless client meetings pre-lockdown, but I was the only one, and now we all do it that way. So these are a couple of interesting facts. The first electric car was made in 1870. I just found that amazing to think that was when we first made an electric car. And what we tend to see a lot is things will happen, really great things, and then we'll move on to other forms of technology. So, I'm working on a project at the moment, which is a Green Expo, which is about raising money for a hydro project in Chester. So on the River Dee in Chester, a hydro terminal was built hundreds of years ago, and then of course we stopped using it and started to go to fossil fuels instead. And the first heat pump, and obviously these are so popular now. I know so many people who've installed heat pumps, but the very first one was built in 1855. And again, we then went from that to fossil fuels, which is just mind-blowing to think about. So carbon footprint friends, as I say, this came as a collaboration between ourselves and Geeky. They did used to allow community groups to access to their platform as a group, but anybody can get onto it. So if you fancy working out your carbon footprint, as I say, I'm sure perhaps a lot of you are already quite engaged with sustainability, but you can work out your carbon footprint on Geeky, and you can just find that directly called Geeky Earth. But we have our own little group of eco-communities, and what we can do is we've got a group of people, we've got 100 so far, and we're building that so anybody in Cheshire can join our project. And the idea is that we want to try and see how much carbon we can reduce in the region by people using the Geeky platform. You know, again, just a few facts. You know, 800 million people go to bed hungry every night, and 50% of food goes to waste. So, you know, a big message there obviously is the need to cut back on food waste. A couple of apps that we really do promote, and again, one of our team wrote a lovely little blog on this, having been introduced to Too Good To Go. It was the one that he did a blog on for me about. But Olio has been around forever, and I must admit I signed up to it years ago, and it was like there was only me in Chester at the time, but there is a lot more activity on that these days. So Olio are great. Anybody, individuals can put food on there that perhaps they know they're going away, they're not going to use, and people can come and collect it. So a huge way of reducing food waste. You know, 27 million people have shared food on Olio, which is great to see. A newer one, or one that's come over from, I think, America, I think it might have been, was Too Good To Go. So Too Good To Go is the one that Simon used in our team the other week, and he got a veg box from one of our local veg. I was really cross I missed that. He's had a couple now, actually. Veg box for £2.99, huge veg box from what was left over from their day's deliveries, or perhaps somebody cancelled or something. But there's loads of organisations that do that. This is businesses, so this is businesses now, and we're seeing, it used to be lots of the big corporates, but we're seeing more local independents like our Hill Food Market linked in now, that at the end of the day will put food on, you can buy that in bulk. So that is more buying food rather than just getting it for free, but at least it does ensure that those businesses out there don't have things that they're throwing away. Lower the temperature when washing clothes. I even was guilty of this until quite recently. I don't know whether it's having a child and you feel the need to wash everything to get it clean on 60 degrees, but actually I think it was probably only a couple of years ago then when I actually started to reduce the temperature. I think I probably reduced it and felt it didn't wash the clothes enough, but I think that a lot of detergents and things have become much better these days. One thing I've never managed to get my son to do, but you know, one thing we're both very good at here is not really a household that does baths, but you know, having shorter showers. And when we did the carbon footprint work with the last group last year at work, which we did online, apparently there's some fancy showers out there that one of our team has that will actually, you know, rather than take something, I know that you can buy these shower things, but his shower actually has a timer on it, so it's obviously a very, very expensive shower, but that's, you know, good to see in some ways. Buy second hand, so we're doing and involved in lots of clothes swaps now, but yeah, and you know, making sure that things go to charity. You know, I think very much it's we're trying to do lots of work where we're encouraging people not to go down the fast fashion route. Really difficult. I was in Chester the other day and kept looking at these carrier bags, which were paper, and thinking, oh, I don't recognise them, and they were everywhere. And it was only one when I managed to see something close up that is a new version of Primark. Everybody in Chester, walking around Chester, will have a Primark carrier bag, and will probably have a t-shirt in there that they paid £2 for, or something, and they may wear it once, and then that will be it, and it will go into waste. Cars, the event we've got next week, we will have some Teslas there for people to test drive. I can't afford a Tesla. I can't even afford an electric car, to be perfectly honest, and I've actually gone car free now. So we've just moved actually further into the centre of Chester, and as a result of that, my car went a couple of weeks ago. I'm now 10 minutes from the train station, 10 minutes into Hoole, 20 minutes from the train station, and about half an hour from the centre of Chester. So my electric bike, which I do have, hopefully will get used a lot more if I'm not walking, but I'm now car free. But yeah, electric car emits a lot less carbon, obviously. But for those of us that can't go down that route and have to keep a car, actually just driving more efficiently makes a huge difference, actually. And that's something, again, that I've not really thought about on the efficiency, braking less, keeping speed down, obviously. So there's loads of great stuff on Geeky about this. I only put this in because I thought, you know, I just wanted to put the link back to Geeky and what it does, and it does very much support fair trade. And you know, we've got a couple of groups. We've got our local fair trade group that will have a stall with us next week, and a company, a small business that does fair trade. And you know, it is something that is close to my heart. It was brilliant to meet Sally all those years ago. I don't think I've ever seen Sally dressed as a banana, but I have seen pictures of her dressed as a banana. Yeah, so, you know, fair trade is really something that we encourage, and we encourage our eco communities. And, you know, a lot of what we do now, we do a lot of events, and I think just because I like organising things, but actually what we find is it brings people together. And it brings people will come to an event that may not have gone to a talk about climate issues. And if you can get them to an event with organisations like Fair Trade there, it's a great way of spreading that message. That quick. And I think this is my final slide, actually, because I was just going to time thinking, oh no. Just one I use on social media the week is volunteers don't necessarily have the time, they just have the heart. And I read that the other week and put it out on social media, and thought, you know, I think a lot of people think I don't have the time to do A and B. I don't have the time to, you know, to get involved in these organisations. But we all, so myself, I've mentioned, we've obviously then got Christian, who's a full-time at Bangor University. Helen's come on board. I met her through Friends of the Earth. She ended up applying for a job with Geeky, so she now works full-time with Geeky, as it happens, and works with me for EcoCommunities. And the last director is my son, who actually, to be perfectly honest, doesn't really do very much these days. But when he was at university, he did journalism and multimedia, and he was my bedrock to learn things and did all my press releases. He did our original website. And I used to pay him, basically, and it helped him get his job as well, because it showed that although he had never had a paid job, he had experience in it. So I'm just a few links to us. If you want, I'll try and put some stuff in the chat before people go. But yeah, you know, we've got lots of information. We do concentrate on Cheshire in some ways, but the information that we put out is appropriate to anybody anywhere, and we actually get people all over the world seem to be reading our stuff that we put out, and we have had people all over the world watching our online events as well, which is great. So that was me. I talk very fast, and I do apologize for that. That's how I live my life, I think. That's probably oh, people say to me, why do you get so much done? And I think just because I just constantly want to do more, and and constantly my brain is coming up with new ideas. And my Helen and I, we're both Helens. Helen, the other Helen, and meets me and goes, "No more ideas, Helen, please, no more ideas." So, and a lot of people think I work for the council in Cheshire as well. But no, I don't. I do it all just because I care and love it. I love being able to get involved in these projects and bringing people along with me. And I've learned so much about plastics over the last 5 years that, say, now we're at that stage where we just want to help other areas. So, say, Plastic Free Cheshire was just a way of linking with other groups in Cheshire to help them achieve what we did in 2018. So I'll stop talking. Stop talking.
Thank you, Helen. That was absolutely fantastic. And yes, very much that you care and have such a passion for this. So thank you so much for sharing that with us this morning. We do have a bit of time if anybody has any questions for Helen, or perhaps you've been inspired by something and you might want to share an idea or an experience with us. But thank you, Helen. That was so useful, and actually it was really interesting for me personally hearing a little bit more about Geeky Earth. It's something that we've come across quite recently at Shared Interest. And I have also recently joined, we have an environment team within the organisation, which I've recently joined, and that's something that we've started to have a little look at and understand a bit more about. So that was really great to get a bit more on that from you as well. If anyone does have any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask away. I think Ian and Sheila, it looks like you might have something to say. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated by Plastic Free Chester. How far does that reach? Because I'm immediately picturing the supermarket shelves with racks of plastic bottles full of water, which is one of my pet bugbears, because our tap water is so good in this country.
I know.
I mean, you know, does it cover just sort of smaller outlets?
Yeah. So the concept of plastic-free communities was created by Surfers Against Sewage. And the one thing we get asked a lot about is, when you've achieved it, why is it that there's still plastic everywhere? So actually, we only work with smaller independents. So Surfers Against Sewage deal with any big business, and Refill as well. We're also linked into Refill. I'm a rep for Refill. I feel like I'm a rep for everything that there is out there. I'm a rep for Refill. So they will tend to link with big organisations, and what we do is on the ground smaller businesses. So what we had to do in Chester was get 30 businesses in Chester to switch 3 items of plastic for them to get an accreditation. We then needed to work with schools. We've got some plastic-free schools in the region, and then we needed to work with local groups, so Women's Institute, that sort of thing. And then we needed to get something passed by the council. So Cheshire West Council have made changes within their organisation. It's filtering through to the food that goes into schools as well, which is brilliant as well. So that it sounds unachievable. And it's not what you would like to see, definitely, but it's a huge step in the right direction. Now I say, well, what we're now doing, having done Chester, because we've got to pass it through Chester. For Chester, we had to do it through the Cheshire West Council, because we don't have a parish council here or a town council, because we're within the city. We sort of had to do more work. So what we're now doing is helping other regions. So we've got, I think by the end of this year, we want to have 7 regions we're working with. I think we're about 5 at the moment that we're working. We've got Tattenhall, Neston, Frodsham that we're working with to help them do what we did. And that really is just helping spread the message as well. So yeah, I wish, but what, one thing we're doing is, so our MP has actually stood up in Parliament once so far about this, is we're trying to encourage councils or to if you're, I mean, it's not plastic bottles, but when there are lots of outdoor events over the summer, festivals and that sort of thing, we're trying to encourage local authorities to put something on licensing that says you can only get a license if you use reusables. But we are, we are reaching some big things on, I've been lucky enough to go down to events at Parliament pre the sessions, and that really is talking to MPs. So there's a lot of work there, but yeah, we're not where we, and I think lockdown has been a huge backward move. I've just written about that recently, which is a huge shame. There was so much momentum pre-lockdown, and I think everybody's gone to this, I must clean everything needs to be in plastic, and I think we're back on, unfortunately we can't reinvent Blue Planet and make it not have already happened and make it happen again, and the effect that Blue Planet gave us pre-COVID. But I wish we could find some way of bringing that enthusiasm back. So we'll just keep plodding on and doing what we can. But thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Thanks, Sheila. Thanks, Helen. Are there any other comments or questions at all for Helen from anyone? That's great. Well, thank you very much, Helen. As I say, that was really inspiring, and hopefully has given us all a little bit of food for thought, and I think some fantastic tips across the spectrum of things as well that you shared, from things like driving more efficiently to considering where our clothes are coming from, all sorts of things. So thank you very much for that. So thank you all for joining.
Can I just say, sorry, Sally, to put in, I'm a nightmare for talking. So I think it is, you know, probably you're here and linked in with shared interest because you already do it and care. And I think where I worry and where we're struggling is reaching out to that much wider audience, and that's what we're trying to do. I'm not necessarily saying we're getting there yet, but I think that's what we all need to do. Those of us that are already switched on to the problems just need to think and find ways of reaching the masses, because we're not going to solve the problems that we've got in the UK and the world if we can't get everybody involved. And an example I can give you is that over lockdown, the council were lucky enough to get some funding from central government to put in some active travel lanes in Chester, obviously at a time when things were very quiet. And within a few weeks there was a Facebook group of 3,000 people who were anti-active travel lanes. And all of a sudden I thought, you know, I wish we'd got 3,000. I mean, obviously we've built up to 3,000 people linking with us who've got as much passion for what we're doing as they have for getting rid of those lanes are now. All the work's gone into them. Obviously, you can still see them, but they've got yellow signs everywhere now saying they're suspended. And it became political as well, and that's where things are going wrong. We need to find a way to link into that wider community. So that's the thing I'm going to leave you with as we finish, is how do we find a way to get into the mindset of those people in Chester and are everywhere else in the UK that didn't want them, even though all that money's been spent, it's happened. The council could find themselves in a really difficult position if they have to give it back because obviously it's been spent and they're in, and they were very passionate about not wanting them, which is why they don't exist anymore. So that's my final thought to everybody. If you've got any miracle ideas, let me know, please. But we're just doing what we can at the moment. So thank you so much for listening.
Thank you. No, thank you, Helen. And yes, I think that's a great point to leave us on is, well, we've all heard what Helen has to say and do what we do and do what we can, and how can we take that message wider? I think it's the same when we're talking about fair trade and shared interest, is how do we help get the message out there to people who aren't aware and don't have the same knowledge or information as we do, and just having conversations with people, I think, all helps with that, doesn't it? It's about learning and sharing that experience.
And if you've not had a look at Geeky, anybody can sign up to it. And you don't have to be part of an organisation like Sally is, but have a look at it, and again, it could just be that sharing something like that with a friend, you might look at it and go, I do a lot of this, even I learned some things that I'd forgotten about, and that another great way to just get people engaged as well.
Absolutely. Excellent. Well, thank you, Helen. Thank you all for joining us. We'll hopefully see some of you a little bit later today. We've got 2 more sessions of the Volunteer Festival coming up. And so we'll look forward to seeing you at some of those. But for now, thanks again, Helen, and take care, everyone.
Lovely to meet everybody.
Thank you. Very interesting.
Thanks,
Helen.
Helen.
Thanks,
Really
Helen.
good.
Thank
Thank
you.
I think